everyone. Is it working? Yeah? Okay, great. Hi, Roshni.
Hi, Stephane.
We know each other for a couple of years now.
Yes.
I had a chance to have a couple of interactions with you, long hours of discussion about philanthropy. I have been very impressed about your understanding and knowledge on philanthropy as a whole, but also all the question about next generation and how all these initiatives which have been built up will be handed over to the next generation. So as mentioned, in October last year, we were in Paris, where BNP Paribas awarded your father the 2013 BNP Paribas Prize for Individual Philanthropy, and we are very proud to welcome you in Paris for that. Today, what I would like to do is to focus on this Stephane Nadar Foundation journey through the eyes of Roshni Nadar. So it's a 20-year journey so far, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Could you just share with us how this idea came to the mind of your father,
Okay.
and how you yourself, over the last 20 years, what have been your first memories about this new project, namely Stephane Nadar Foundation?
Okay. Stephane, firstly, thank you to BNP for the award. It was a great recognition, but more than a recognition, it was actually a great validation of us doing something right. So
Thanks.
that's what is most important. Not just us as the family, but everybody who works in the foundation. So it means that we're in the right direction. So I think that's great. Just going back to the Stephane Nadar Foundation, I don't know if a lot of you know, so my father grew up in Tirunelveli, which is in Tamil Nadu, my father grew up in Tirunelveli, which is in Tamil Nadu, which is a very small town, almost a village. He actually never grew up in any metro or any city. And there's only one thing that he owes his success to, and that is the fact that he was a product of education and a product of scholarship. And if that wasn't the case, he probably wouldn't have been where he was. Having said that, he's still not, an IITian. He's not a Harvard business grad, none of that. But just to be able to get those scholarships and go to good schools and then move to the north and create his wealth and his institution, it was a great learning experience for him. He is also one of 8 children. So I think that inherent need to constantly keep competing for time, whether it's from your parents or whether it's just to get things done, I guess it taught him a lot. And sometime in the 90s, I think, when the tech boom happened, and that's when I think a lot of people in technology at least started making substantial amounts of wealth. At that time, my grandmother was alive, and she asked him that, you've made a lot of money, enough at least to sustain you for many generations to come, so have you thought about giving back? And that's when he thought about philanthropy. And he was very inspired by the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, this whole concept of philanthropy and building institutions. Obviously, as we've seen today, and as probably has been discussed in the last couple of days, is that there are many routes to philanthropy. The most common one that we see is obviously corrective in nature, which is, you identify a problem, you try to find a solution around it, institute a program with given timelines and results and impact measurement. But the thing with creating institutions is that sometimes the impact comes much, much later. It comes after many, many years of the founders actually having created it, sometimes not even in their lifetime. But the learning that he's gotten from building HCL and building institutions is that you could do the same thing in philanthropy with educational institutions. So that's, I think, what drove him, and that's what we are still trying to create. So when we say that we've been in philanthropy for 20 years, there's only one initiative, the SSN College of Engineering outside Chennai, which is 20 years old. everything else actually came into being 2009 onwards. So we're not old, we're very young, and many, many more years to go.
And your first memories? I mean, when 20 years ago you were a young girl?
Yes. I think, again, my memories are not specifically to do with philanthropy or the foundation, but this whole thing of creating institutions. You know, I've grown up watching him create HCL, and there's a lot that he's able to apply just from his learnings of creating a company in philanthropy and the kind of institutions we're trying to make. So that in itself is a great learning. So that's some of the things that I kind of remember, learn from, draw from. So yeah, I'm still learning, we're still growing, so that's it.
So about learning, I mean, next gen philanthropists, as we call them, and like any new generation, try to while respecting the legacy, try to rethink the way of doing.
Yeah.
So now that you are highly involved now from since a couple of years, how do you, with your parents, try to honor the past, but at the same time improve the future, or at least I would say impact or influence on the way of the foundation is evolving going forward?
So one thing that I find particularly interesting when it comes to philanthropy is this whole title of Next Gen. It automatically gives out the message that philanthropy is meant for really old people, you know? So it's funny that, you know, I'm actually sometimes having to justify myself of being a philanthropist because technically I'm not old enough. And that's quite a funny notion because I mean, in this room, we've got people from all age groups involved in some kind of philanthropy. So it isn't an old notion. So when we're even discussing strategies around the Nadar Foundation or the kind of models we want to follow, I think what's gone really well for us is that once we're in the room, we're all on the same platform, and we're all the same age. So I think my parents want to be 33, so it's fine. There's so much that is being done in the area of philanthropy. I mean, we know from this particular Dasra week, even from what's been happening abroad, even from the other candidates who are part of the BNP Awards.
Yes, sure.
There's so much to learn from, and there's so much new stuff to do, and so many innovative ways to do it that you just have to constantly keep evolving yourself. And also, if we're building institutions which have to stand the test of time and have to be around much longer than us founding families, it has to be a constant model of change and innovation. Otherwise, it'll just wither away.
Okay, so today the Nadar Foundation enjoys a global recognition. BNP Paribas Award is one of them. I know that you are welcoming a lot of education-focused foundations which are established overseas. They come to visit you in Noida. They come to visit the Vidyaghana initiative. We'll talk about that in a minute. How do you see the evolution and the situation about next-gen philanthropists in India compared to the rest of the world, or at least some part of the world that you have already been exposed to?
Well, I think there's clearly from here, it's visible that there are a lot more people involved. Again, I think what I was talking to Deval earlier, what Dasra is able to do specifically in Bombay or over here, I wish there were similar platforms in other cities as well as Delhi, because actually, if you don't get a platform like this to talk about it, people actually don't know what all is going on. So I'm sure there are a lot of next-gen people, so to speak, who are involved in philanthropy and doing some amazing work, but we never get to really hear about it. So it's evolving well. I think there's a lot more to be done. And you know, the reason I say that is because it's not just the you know, the family foundations or the who's who of India who are putting in the money into philanthropy. But like me, I'm sure there are many first-generation inheritors. Okay, so if you're going to be inheriting that wealth, you have to kind of be part of the philanthropy process. Otherwise, it's very difficult to just pick up the pieces. It has to, and for the sake of the foundation and the initiatives, it's only responsible to keep a good transition. After all, you do that in companies, right? Chairmans get old, CEOs come. Who's the next line of leaders? You're constantly doing that. So similarly, you need to do the same thing with philanthropy, is have a good pipeline of people coming into the system.
And you share this view quite openly, if I remember correctly. I mean, when you were in Paris, at least you mentioned that during the event. Then even heard that when you had the opportunity to meet with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, you spoke up and shared the same view.
Yeah,
right?
It was really funny because everybody there was obviously in the same established level as my father, and I was the only one who was there, and they kept talking about philanthropy, and I just told them that, perhaps next time they come to India, it would be nice to meet the next gen or the kids, because a big part of sustainable philanthropy is to keep new people coming into the systems, and the children to come into the system and kind of take it ahead. So why not have them part of the process?
Not true. Just maybe another question to get your view on how to get more time or involvement of the next gen philanthropists. Do you think that actors like DASRA, private foundation, corporate foundation, maybe BNP Paribas Wealth Management, is there anything that comes to mind that we should do to be able to make this area more attractive and be able to enjoy the talent and the time from?
Yeah, I think again it's having platforms like this where people can participate. Even going back to the BNP award, apart from the Family Foundation award, which we received, you have the special jury prize, which attaches an amount of $50,000 to it. So can you imagine if there are people who want to start in philanthropy and could really use those funds and use those prizes, just to have those avenues available for people to participate, talk about. And also, we ourselves are absolutely guilty of it, but I think there's a lot of good work being done by families and foundations. But I don't know if it's a matter of distrust or whatever, but actually we don't talk about it. In India, by and large, people don't talk about not how much they give. Forget about and by the way, I think the biggest issue why we don't talk about it because the people only want to know, or at least the media, is how much we give, as in a money amount. There's much more interest in the relevance of what we do, how it impacts lives. So a lot of that discussion doesn't happen. So one thing that I take away from here is that we should talk a lot more about that, and less about, how much you spend and what percentage of your wealth and all those things.
So look, it's a good transition. You have launched the Vidyaghana initiative 18 months ago, if I'm right? Or
2009.
Oh, 2009,
Summer.
so yeah, more than that.
Yeah.
And I know that you have been incremental in this project. Before we speak about that a bit more in detail, could you share with us what is your vision about this pretty original and unique leadership academic model?
Yeah. So what we've done at the Nadar Foundation is that each family member, and there aren't so many to go around, there are only 3 of us, and but we've kind of owned an initiative each. And we've done that so that we're all very busy people, but we should be able to provide it that much ownership and time and commitment. So, Vidyaghana is my baby, and the idea came about, and perhaps some of you will find this really interesting. So even when today I was sitting in this room and I was listening to Harsh and I was listening to Bani, and one of the things, I think one thing that we are all pretty certain about is we're here and we're at this stage because we've had some really good education, and everyone in this room has had by and large, had a very good upbringing, has gone to some of at least most of us have gone to some of the top schools of the country, high schools, then have gone on to go to good universities, do your master's program. And a lot of it has to do with because maybe we come into a certain elite strata and we have that access. So when we thought about Vidyaghana, we decided to focus on the state of Uttar Pradesh. And for most of you, you know Uttar Pradesh, it's the largest state in the country, perhaps one of the poorest state, and specifically for girls and boys when it comes to school education, perhaps the worst. And we thought that instead of just creating a corrective model of schools, what if we created a leadership academy? Taking in kids at the age of 6, rural, underprivileged, meritorious kids, putting them through the school, and then hopefully they are in a much better position to get into those Ivy Leagues, better universities. And the idea is to actually make leaders. It's not just to educate them. So that's what's very important. And so that's what we thought about when Vidyaghana was created. And we take children at the class 6 level. So in fact, I have a little AV, it's only a minute and a half on Vidyaghana, just a school, just to show you what we've created. So if you could just play it, please.
Vidyaghana is a leadership academy that handpicks rural meritorious children, provides them with best of facilities in its fully residential campus up to class 12th, and nurture them in the right kind of environment and exposure. But it takes a comprehensive process to choose the right kid for every single place in Vidyaghana.
Vidyaghana schools have been started in the state of Uttar Pradesh, the state which has the highest population among all the Indian states, but has a very low literacy rate. Underprivileged meritorious children from villages, they are brought in these schools through a rigorous selection process. In 2013, more than 83,000 students, they appeared in the admission test for a final intake of 400 students. We take utmost care in the selection of faculty and staff. What we look in them is their passion and commitment for the vision which the foundation has. We have teachers who have the experience of working in best of the schools of the country.
So that's Vidyaghana for you. We've got 2 schools in UP, and that covers the entire state of UP. So again, I just want to focus on a specific point that it's really a leadership program. So it's not an education program. So while the numbers we're getting in are not so large, I think our senior most class is right now going into 11th grade. So we still haven't had a first batch pass out. So in terms of impact, we can only measure the kinds of changes that each child that comes from each village has been able to bring about. So, you know, it's funny, but like ever since Vidyaghana started, all of a sudden Vidyaghana coaching centers have come up in Uttar Pradesh. Now, we don't support this, you know, and there is no way a coaching center will guarantee you admission into the school because we control the admissions process and it's a testing process. But they're coaching centers. But that's amazing, because what it's done is for children and parents who are not able to get their kids into Vidyaghana, and these are families with income of 1 lakh and below per annum, they're now sending their kids to school. So they care. So, you know, and we've enjoyed a great ratio. We've enjoyed a ratio of 60 to 40% boys to girls. Now that's amazing for rural UP. And these are co-educational schools. So that means, again, these parents have the faith to send their girls to a co-educational school with boys They all live together, they stay together, you know. So there's a lot of this stuff happening. So what we're hoping is, at least in the long run, that Vidyaghana will be able to produce leaders in whatever field, be it social entrepreneurs, be it sportsmen. We hope that some will want to be teachers, because that's what's very, very important. When we talk about education, institutions of quality, some will want to be artists, some will want to be politicians, varied fields. So when we talk about leadership, it's not specifically politics either. So it's a leap of faith. The impact of Vidyaghana is not something we can measure now, tomorrow, or day after. But we're hoping that each one of this Vidyaghana child will be able to provide a certain inspiration in his or her village. So I think that's what is important. And please, if you're ever in Delhi, it's a trek, but it's good for the soul. So let me know. Yeah.
Great. Maybe some questions from the room? Great.
Hi, Nazni.
Hi, I'm Nazneen from Forbes. Roshni, you kind of set yourself up for this question.
I know, Nazneen. I saw you walking in as soon as I was saying it.
I would be interested to know if you can share with us, and this is, what discussions have you had around the giving pledge, the concept of the giving pledge. And I know that's tied to a percentage of wealth, etc. But, it makes a huge symbolic impact. Yeah. And I know that your dad, Shiv, is very generous and has been giving money. But, signing up to the pledges, taking that commitment further. So I was wondering, what are your family discussions been on that, and why your dad hasn't signed the pledge so far?
To be honest with you, maybe it's a discussion we should have, because we haven't raised it yet. It just kind of came and went, and we haven't really had a discussion. I think his first response to the pledge was that, why should I pledge when I'm already spending the money? What is the pledge when I've already spent a certain amount, and you visited the foundation initiatives, institutions, so you know that there's so much more to be done and is already happening, that there's no way we can run away from spending that amount of money. So it's already pledged, and that's just the beginning. And if you look at, you saw Vidyaghana, but we've got a university and a lot of other things. These are just huge campuses. So and if we have to complete them and do whatever we have to do, there's already a lot that has been pledged that we need to spend. And that is only on capital expenditure. Then what it takes to run these institutions the way we want them to run is over and above. So, yeah, we're already pledged.
Any other question?
Roshni, if you did not have the money, what would you be doing?
If I didn't have the money, what would I be? I'd be working for one of you.
One of you means Dasra, or?
Maybe Dasra.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's a mindset, right? It has nothing to do with money.
Any other question on side? I think there is a question there.
I'm the Nashri with the United Nations Population Fund. Hi, Roshni. Just very quickly, you said 40% are girls and 60% are boys. How many girls do apply? I know you must be doing a selection.
Yeah, so what we've done is for each district, so UP has 75 districts, and from each school, from every school of the district which follows the criteria, we ask for a topper girl and a topper boy. And then they apply, and we take 8 students per district. So what we do is we just do 4 and 4. But what happens is that by the time the girls come into campus, Are the parents comfortable with a boarding school, not comfortable? So some girls do drop out, so the ratio goes a bit off. But we're hoping to make it 50-50, and that's why we put in that condition that every school has to send a topper girl and a topper boy. See, it's also very competitive. I mean, it's a leadership academy and it's very competitive. So we also want students to be there who will really be able to do the entire program and not get under pressure and really, fall off. So it's highly competitive. We're choosing from 2 lakh students, we're narrowing down to 400 kids a year. So it's a huge exercise. It takes us 6 months to do that.
We have time, yes, for one last question.
Thanks for your work, Roshni. My name is Rajiv Khanna from International Development Exchange, and you spoke a little bit about privilege and having access to education like many of us in this room have had. And whenever you give money to someone, there's a power differential. So how do you address that power differential?
As in, are you specifically talking about Vidyaghana or?
In general, in your philanthropy.
So we don't give anybody money. So Vidyaghana is completely free, but we're not actually giving the parents or anybody any money. So when they're even coming into the Vidyaghana system, we're telling them you're here because you earned your place to be here. It's a very empowering tool for a child and for his family or her family to be able to recognize that, my child is in Vidyaghana because he or she is good enough to do so, is a very powerful tool. So we actually don't give money to anybody because that would kind of beat the purpose, right? You have to empower them. I don't think money can do that. Yeah.
Great. Roshni? A quick one.
I just wanted to know, since you're taking these kids from really, I presume, really poor families, so you're taking them out, putting them into this wonderful environment and preparing them for the future, etc. What happens to their families? I mean, don't they kind of become misfits? How do their families kind of, or are you just hoping that eventually they'll do good for their families? But no, isn't there a disconnect there?
It's actually been interesting. So we treat Vidyaghana exactly like how you would treat a cathedral here or a Doon school or a Sanar or any of those. So parents come 5 times a year to school for parent-teacher meetings. And it's amazing. They all make it. They all come. And each parent is involved in the process. This is how your child is doing. This is how your child is not faring well. What are the pressures, whatever. Then what we do is every summer when the kids go back home, we don't give them any summer homework. Their homework is, and I guess this is alluding again to social entrepreneurship, identify a problem in your village and solve it. And there have been some innovative models that have come out. A boy who started, he went to a village fair and he was having ice cream and he couldn't find any wrapper, a dustbin to throw his wrapper. So he got together with the local guy who makes baskets, and they put baskets everywhere around his village that became dustbins. We've got a few students who got together and they've made a smokeless oven, like a smokeless chula. We've got another few kids who over the summer have created a water filtering system. And these are all problems which they face every day. So we try to make sure that they're not disconnected because it's very important. They're coming from rural UP. At the end of the day, actually the leap of faith is that, they just don't leave India and become a doctor in America. The leap of faith is that they stay in India or at least go there, avail of all the opportunities and learning they possibly can, and then come back home to make a change in UP, in India, or anywhere else. So we have to constantly, you're right, we have to be conscious and keep them in touch with where they came from. So we do a lot that we can. And it's really interesting. Actually, the best learning that we get is the signals that the parents give us when they're back home for summer vacation. So, is he gelving well? Is he not gelling well into the city? Is he into the village? Is he being this arrogant boy? who's now come from the Vidyaghana environment back home. So they teach us a lot and tell us a lot and how we need to develop and change. So it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshni.
Yeah.
And definitely you are one of the best representatives of the next generation philanthropists here in India. And thanks. And I hope that we have the opportunity to discuss again in Paris, in India, or elsewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.